Here live from Sam 100.7 and the Sam channel here on our Facebook and YouTube, Sam Channel BG. Happy New Year. Um, just thought I'd chime in here for a little bit because many of you are still out and we've had a few thunderstorms and some heavy rain. And I just wanted to reassure you that we are not seeing anything like we saw 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to kind of break down everything that I'm seeing right now. I've got radar up there, and we're going to just take a tour of it. And then I'll bring you some reports that I'm getting in. The thing is that what we're getting this morning is just kind of a precursor of things to come. And by that, I mean we're going to have an active day of weather here for this New Year's Day as we ring in the new year. Promised you that we would see some heavy rain right about this time of the morning if you're out celebrating still New Year's Eve. Now New Year's Day, that you would get some heavy rain, and the rain has been quite heavy. And we're still getting that. Warm front is starting to make its way through the area, and that's what's touching off the rain. Some of it is enough to cause some minor flooding. So if you're out driving, you need to use caution, slow down. You're going to find some ponding of water on the roadways. You're going to find a lot of standing water, and that can cause you to hydroplane, lose control. If you're going the speed limit, especially on the parkways and the interstates, you can lose control of your vehicle very quickly because you run up onto one of those standing water ponds, if you will, on the interstate, and you lose control and it causes an accident. But just slow it down. Run about 10 to 15 miles per hour slower than the posted speed limit, and you should be fine. I'm gonna go to radar now and show you what we have going on at the moment. And as you can see, it's pretty active, but it's not. There have been a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. There's one up toward Highsville that has just expired. That was for portions of Metcalf and Barron counties. You can see the a little cluster of lightning that is associated with that up there, but that is now moving away. Still, some very those little pockets you see there of red indicating some very heavy rainfall, and that is continuing. This is actually the warm front, and it's kind of like that. Out ahead of it is where we're getting the best moisture lifting into the area. But once that warm front comes in, it kind of shuts off the rain for the most part. This is, though, only the first wave of activity that we're watching. It's the second wave that is going to come in later today and tonight that is of concern because as this warm front cuts off the moisture, then we're going to get maybe some breaks in the cloud cover. The rain will shut off for a while. And then we could, any sun that comes out could refire the atmosphere and cause things to become very unstable. Here is the radar in motion. And as you can see, we've got these heavy cells of, cells of heavy rain that continue to move over the same area. And that's going to cause, I think, some flash flooding already back here into parts of Christian and Todd counties. You see that green box? That is a flood, flash flood warning. And that is because of the rain that's moving over the same area. There you see, and this is another concern here. This had a severe thunderstorm warning on it. This you see this kind of a bowing echo here. Uh, we're going to probably watch that a little more closely. It's going through Fort Campbell, Hopkinsville. That's got a little bit of energy with it, enough to maybe refire severe storms along that line. And since it is bowing out like that, then it kind of gives me pause to think that there could be some damaging wind reaching the ground there in Christian County. But they have a flash flood warning there, that green box, taking in pretty much all of Christian and Todd counties this morning. And there's another one back here in Cadiz, Kentucky, and back toward the land between the lakes. So we got a lot going on here. I'll zoom out even more so you can see the bigger picture. This is all coming from the Nashville National Weather Service, and you can see clearly now that warm boundary as it just kind of sits like that across the area. So what we're going to get once all of this moves a little further north, and that's the question. And this is why we couldn't give a good answer for, how much severe weather are we going to get, because it's more about how far north this warm front goes and how much of that warm sector, if you will, that section of warm air uh, down south of the warm front are we going to get, that's going to help set up and refire the second wave of thunderstorms that's going to roll in here later today and tonight. That's the big question. It all depends on how far north that boundary goes. I mean, if it goes further north up toward the Ohio River, which is a possibility, then we could be talking about enough of a warm sector to give us a little more concern about tornadoes. Now, either way this goes, either the lesser end of it or the higher end of it, it appears that it would not be anything in comparison to what happened 2 weeks ago. This is not that kind of a setup. The atmosphere is being really worked over right now with a lot of rain. There's more rain to come. And all of this is happening with a pattern and with a system that is, yes, very potent. There's a lot of cold air back behind it. Once we get this whole system through here, it's going to turn colder by Sunday. And the result of that is we're going to be in a much different atmosphere, and it's going to be more stable. But until then, we've got this semi unstable air mass. It is juiced up, it's got a lot of moisture, and it's going to produce some heavy rain. But will it do what it did 2 weeks ago? I don't think so. It's just a little bit different type of setup. And yes, there is a tornado threat, but I don't think it's going to be a tornado threat that mimics or looks anywhere close to what we had now, what, 20 days ago, 21 days ago now. So, just to give you hopefully a little bit of peace here, and maybe give you something to hang your hat on and not be totally concerned about how bad this is going to be. I don't want you thinking that it's going to be something that is just, terrible. It is going to be something that is certainly, um, something to pay attention to, but it's not anything that is going to compare to what we had back on the 11th and 12th. All right, I just saw a new, what was that came in? Okay, we're getting a flash flood warning, and that's for, there you go. Okay, there is flash flood warning. You're seeing it on the radar there. This is going to go for about 2.5 hours. The latest from the Weather Service flash flood warning. This includes north central Allen, northern Barron, northwestern Metcalf, and southeastern Warren until 6:15. As you can see, what I was just talking about, those cells training or moving over the same particular area. And that's a concern because that means that we're going to just continue to get heavy rainfall, always just kind of moving in that you see how it's just moving straight line over the same general area. And that's why they've issued that flash flood warning. So, this is what I mean when I say about the ponding of water on roadways, about how things will just sneak up on you. Some creeks and streams and rivers and things like that will start to overflow if they haven't already, because we've already picked up well over an inch or more, 2 inches of rain in some cases, and we're about to get a lot more over that green box that you see there. That means that a flash flood warning is in effect for those areas. And then I just received a new severe thunderstorm warning, and this is going to be for Todd and Christian counties. And it's those areas that I was just showing you that that particular, and there is the new severe thunderstorm warning, which takes in. Um, I didn't want to do that. Let me go back out. That takes in. Yeah, there we go. The area that is already under a flash flood warning, and that's just east of Hopkinsville, Pembroke. We're seeing some pretty good returns there in a Bow Echo. And in that Bow Echo is the severe thunderstorm warning, southeastern Christian and Todd counties until 3:45. Um, Looks like it's got 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, so that would categorize it as a severe thunderstorm. It could do a little bit of roof damage. This includes Elkton, Trenton, Allensville, Guthrie, eventually on the southern end of that, Fort Campbell, all under that severe thunderstorm warning. By the way, in case you didn't know, we're under a tornado watch until 7 o'clock. That was issued late last night, and that tornado watch extends over much of southern Kentucky. So it and that was done mainly as a precaution for this area that is seeing that training of the heavy rains, but also because there's enough wind energy within these thunderstorms to maybe produce some wind damage, even some hail. Although I haven't seen reports from the National Weather Service indicating hail, it is a possibility. So, about dime size, maybe nickel size hail is a possibility coming from especially a thunderstorm like that one that's going through Pembroke in parts of Christian County, eastern Christian County, now moving into Todd County. So that's a possibility. We're still getting a lot of lightning and rain, and you get those deep rumbles of thunder. Anytime you hear those deeper rumbles of thunder, you're what's happening is just like there. I just you couldn't hear it on here, but I could hear it. You're getting that rolling thunder, we call it, and it's because the heavy rains are just reverberating off of the amount of water that's in these clouds and in this system, and it's just rolling and rumbling, and it just sounds like it wants to continue for a good 30 seconds or more, which is kind of a long time, and in some cases even more, even longer than that. So just be aware that's what's going on. It's mostly heavy rain, which in my update, if you read about it, that I posted earlier yesterday, now that today's Saturday, Friday afternoon. I have to remember what day it is and what year it is. Um, it was saying that this looked like it was going to be more of a heavy rain event, possible flooding, and less of a severe weather threat. We do have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that have popped up here within the last hour, but uh, again, this is not going to be anything compared to what happened on December 11th. This is not that kind of a system. But since it is New Year's Day, New Year's Eve into New Year's Day now, at 3 o'clock in the morning, people are waking up, hearing the thunder and seeing the heavy rain and the lightning and all of that. I just thought I'd come on, maybe not for a long time, and just reassure everybody that hey, it's okay. But if you're out and about, you do need to be aware that it is messy, it is soggy, it is it can be dangerous if you go down a highway or something and you run into these big puddles of water. You can lose control of your vehicle pretty quickly and hydroplane, and that will mess up your New Year's. You can lose control of your vehicle, and then you're trying to find help. All right, back to the radar as we show you what's going on here. The warning continues, the severe thunderstorm warning for Christian and Todd counties. I'll zoom into that, and I'll do a split view here so that we can see velocity within this scan, and I'll stop the motion here so we can see if there's outbound winds and inbound winds coupling around any place here. Let me scoot this over just a little. Now I've noticed the lightning has ticked up here in Bowling Green within the last few minutes, which we're going to get a little bit more of that energy pushing in here. But here is, inbound winds and outbound winds. And you see this is all a very broad rotation. It's not tight. If it were tighter, if I could pinpoint an area that maybe is seeing some tighter rotation, I see one that's kind of here, but it's a little bit disconnected around Trenton. And there's an updated scan on that one. There's also another one right here that's a possibility. But I'm not seeing anything that's really a tighter rotation that would give me concern or pause that, a tornado is trying to form. I mean, these storms naturally are rotating. The good news is they're far enough north of the warm front that they're not getting the spin necessary to produce a tornado. So the rotation that we're looking at here is very broad, If it were tighter, I would be concerned that, yeah, something could come from that. But right now, it looks like it's all just mainly straight line winds, which anytime when you see a signature like this, where it kind of bows out like this one is doing, it's just kind of bowing out like that in one direction. Well, that's where the force of the winds are coming down from the system and down to the ground. That means there could be some minor wind damage, gusts to 60 miles per hour or higher. It does not mean that it's necessarily going to produce a tornado, at least not from this perspective and from where we're looking at this. I just don't see it. Now, uh, one of these little couplets, or it could, one of the broad areas of rotation, like I was telling you about, these right here maybe are trying to do something, but they've got a little disconnect. There's a little brighter green against the red there. It looks like it could try to do something, but this is why we don't look at just one scan or even one radar. I can change radars and get it from a different perspective. Maybe this radar is too close or far away. Which one have I got here? I think I've got the Nashville radar. So we're good. If I was to look at the Fort Campbell radar, which is practically underneath the system, then you're just going to get this donut hole, and you're not really going to get a very good perspective on if there's any kind of coupling going on between inbound and outbound winds. So that's why I was looking at this from the Nashville radar. Go down and choose that one, which is over here, Old Hickory, and then go back up and so you get a little better picture there. It's Muhlenberg. I went too far north. There we go. So see now the latest scan is looking more like just pockets here of straight line winds coming down to the surface. There's a little inflow here. By that I mean there's what I was saying earlier. There's a little twist in the atmosphere with all of these thunderstorms, but it's not a tight enough rotation to be concerned that it would produce a tornado. But regardless, that severe thunderstorm warning is going to continue for 17 more minutes. And then it will hopefully, this thing looks like it's becoming a little more disorganized. Remember, before it had really nice, perfect bow on it. Now it's starting to get a little more ragged in there. So maybe, maybe it won't be too bad. But still, the potential for some wind damage in there. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment. Not getting any reports of damage or anything like that back to the west, which is certainly good. Man, we're getting here in Bowling Green heavy, heavy rainfall. Um, Lightning is pretty intense as well. And you just need to be on the watch if you're out for New Year's Day early, or you've been out since late yesterday for New Year's Eve. Just slow it down out there. Um, in the chat room, Jim says thanks for the coverage. Appreciate you, Jim, for being here. We've got several people on YouTube and on our Facebook page. You can either go to my Facebook page, that is on, well, you can go to the Chris Allen Facebook page, or you can go to my profile. You can also go to the Sam 100.7 Facebook page, and you can watch all of this there. Again, I don't know how long I'll be here this morning. I'm just kind of watching this next wave coming through. Once it dies down, then I'll probably shut down coverage in anticipation of what's coming next, which is going to be later today. This afternoon and this evening is when we're looking at um, a very good possibility that we're going to see some heavy rain and thunderstorms in the area, and better potential maybe of severe weather moving through the area with the actual cold front. That's going to take place here as we get into the late day. And the concern is how much of the atmosphere is going to be able to rebound, if you will, and refire um, the potential for some severe weather. What it takes is available moisture. We've got plenty of that, as you can see this morning. I mean, look at that rain shield. I mean, everywhere from about, say, Bowling Green north is just getting hammered with heavy rain. The exception, that little leg that's over here toward Christian and Todd counties now, over toward Elkton. Once this warm front moves a little bit further north, it all depends then, it's laying about right here right now, and it's going to continue to head north. The big question mark, if you will, is how far north is that warm front going to go? Because where that front sets up is going to help determine what happens later. That's why in my discussion, my forecasts that are posted on social media, I couldn't give a confident answer, and nor could the weather service, as to, just how this is going to set up for later. If this front goes further north up toward the Ohio River, then we're going to be in a really warm sector all day. If the front just stays where it is right now, I would see less of a severe weather threat later, and that severe weather threat would be further south. Certainly, Tennessee is under the gun today, Mississippi, Alabama, parts of Georgia. That's where the real brunt of any severe weather is going to be. But how much of it does come into Kentucky? And that's why the question mark is how far north that warm front goes. So that's what we'll be watching throughout the day today to see what happens next. Because it's hard to be confident that we are going to get, severe weather in southern Kentucky until we know where that warm front is going to stay. So until that time, we're just kind of waiting it out. Now, if that front does go further north, we're in the warm sector for a long time. And, the sun comes out later today in between this round of storms this morning and the cold front coming in later. Then we need to be on guard. Then we'll need to be alert and aware and prepared for the possibility of tornadoes. Again, even if that should happen, I don't see it being something that compares to what we had 2 weeks ago. I just don't see that as a setup for that kind of an event. That event was rare, and it was historic, and it was one of those in a generation sometimes that happens. And we always knew and had always talked about one day it's going to happen to us, and it did. And it's unfortunate, but nature is nature, and these things happen. Nature doesn't care where you live. Nature doesn't care where Bowling Green is. It's just where the best setup is, it's going to happen. But I think this event is going to be either, if the front goes further north or south, I think we're going to be enough on a borderline to where we could see some warnings maybe tornado warnings, but certainly severe thunderstorm warnings as that front comes in. There's going to be a line of storms that comes in, and along that front, we could have spins along that line. Years ago, we called them squall lines. Now they're called QLCS, and people are like, well, what is a QLCS? It's a quasi linear convective system. In other words, that's what QLCS means. It's it's just a long, it's a squall line. It's a line of squally weather, usually severe storms. Leading edge of it is the worst. Kind of like what is trying to get going here over parts of Todd and Logan counties under the severe thunderstorm warning. But this is not that. Um, you will see a really long line out ahead of the cold front later this afternoon. We're talking sometime after 2 or 3 o'clock, maybe, for the timing of that, in which that would come through, and that's why we have the concern that we'll run into a second wave of severe weather later on. But for this is just going to be generally rain, heavy rain going over some of the same areas that you see, and it's all just ahead of that warm front, which is just kind of right down here across Middle Tennessee, trying to bow its way up into southern Kentucky, and that is the best area of rainfall going on. And some of the rains are heavy, heavy enough to cause some flash flooding, as you see that flash flood warning that you see there over parts of southeastern Warren County, parts of Barron, and even into northern Metcalfe County. So, as long as these cells keep moving over the same area, that's where the flooding concern is going to be. Less of a threat of severe storms this morning. This is turning into a big blanket of rain. On the bottom edge of it, of course, is where near the front that we have the better instability. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing, this area that is just starting to generate a lot of stronger activity, stronger thunderstorms. And then we're seeing these cells popping up down here from Hartsville to Salina to Burkesville, Albany, Tompkinsville, Gamale, back towards Scottsville. All of that is part of that same system that is just pumping in the moisture. You got surface winds going one direction, mid level, upper winds going another direction, creating some shear but not enough to produce tornadoes right now. Um, the Weather Service said there were a couple of these cells back to the west that you're seeing back here in western Kentucky that look to be very close to that, but it didn't shake out. Again, it was more of a broad rotation instead of something that was really tight. Um, It is going to be a windy day, I can tell you that. High temperatures today will be again around 70, maybe the low 70s. Um, it is it is going to be again one of those almost spring-like days once this rain that you're looking at on radar leaves or moves further north this morning. Once that's gone, then it's just going to be a day. Hopefully, we can keep a lot of clouds in here. And again, that a lot of that depends on where the warm front sets up, and we can just keep the instability down. When you've got this much moisture and you've got a lot of winds shifting direction with height, creating shear, and you get all those ingredients together, plus a very warm atmosphere for the beginning of, well, it's January now. Hello, January 1. It's like this is not normal. So, given that, that's why we've kind of heightened the awareness and hopefully preparedness for you to just, you know, stay on top of these updates and warnings and I'll post something on social media later today about these about the next round and what we think is going to happen with the next round. And then I'll be back on here later to bring you up to date on, you know, hopefully it won't be that bad. Hopefully we can keep a canopy of clouds, a blanket of clouds to cut down on the sun energy, because once that sun hits that available moisture, the winds acting as they are ahead of the front, there's going to be lots of lift, there's going to be lots of forcing, and that gets things really spinning around and going, and we don't want that. Again, even if that does happen, I don't think it would be on the order. Again, hear me. I don't think it'll be on the order of what happened 20, 21 days ago, December 11th. Um, I don't think it'll be anything like that. Although, look for maybe later on a tornado watch. And yes, we could have tornado warnings later on today, given the atmosphere that we're inside, not only right now, but will be later today once those winds start to kick up and we get just a little bit of heating, sun heating through the clouds. That may ramp up and give us more confidence about how this thing is going to play out and where that warm front ends up parking. It's not really going to park. It's going to hang until the low pressure system and the cold front swing through. Then it will just kind of carry it on to the east. And then that will be followed by cold air. I mean, it is going to get downright cold by tomorrow night, tomorrow being Sunday, not Saturday. This is Saturday now at 3:42 in the morning. This is Saturday, January 1st, New Year's Day. By tomorrow, Sunday night, we could be looking at temperatures dropping into the upper teens. Upper teens. And I know some have included a little bit of snow flurry activity or whatever in the forecast. It's a possibility, but I don't want to go too deep into that until we get through this. This is the big thing right now, is getting through this event, um, and where we get this next line of storms, the squall line, and get through that, then we can start to talk about the colder air and if we're going to get any kind of measurable snow out of it. I don't think we'll get measurable snow here further east. It's a possibility. Once you get into central and eastern Kentucky, yeah, they could actually end up with a little coating of snow, but here the ground is still too warm. It hasn't had time to cool off that quickly enough to cause things to really stick and cause an issue. But just to give you a little um, inside baseball, if inside weather, we are looking at that possibility that we could see some snowflakes come Sunday morning and then or Sunday midday as the temperatures fall behind the front down into the upper teens Sunday night into Monday morning. It's crazy. Go from 70s to upper teens. And especially this time of the year, something's got to happen. So this is what's happening, but this is just round one, and things are looking fairly calm here. I'm not getting any reports of damage or anything like that from any of the weather service offices. I'm in their chat room. We discuss things back and forth, and I'm not seeing anything from any of them as far as that's concerned. Just a lot of heavy rain. So I would, if you want to go back to bed, this is not your normal time to be up, even though it's New Year's Day. I don't have any party favors or anything with me. Sorry about that. I didn't come prepared. Uh, just be reassured that you're going to hear some thunder, big rolling thunder this morning, some very heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds. There could even be a warning or two, severe thunderstorm, brief thunderstorm warning. And then all this is going to quiet down over the next few hours. It's today when we got to watch how things develop and progress. And from that, that will determine what happens later. So, follow me on my Facebook page, the Sam 100.7 Facebook page. My Instagram and Twitter has links to everything. As soon as I post something new, probably later this morning, or I would suspect the Weather Service may do another conference call at some point today, and I'll be in on that, and then we'll better know maybe what's going to play out later. But you can check that anytime you want to today, and most likely I'll be back right here to do live coverage of what will be the second wave of severe weather. So I think we're good for now. I'm going to close this down, and then with anticipation of coming back later and doing more coverage. Again, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free. If you're watching on YouTube, you can go just search Sam Channel BG, Sam Channel BG, and hit the subscribe button. That way, when I go live here again, you'll get a notification on your phone or your device that I'm going back live, or you can just, on Facebook, it'll tell you that I'm live like I am right now. All right. Thank you all for watching. God bless. Happy New Year. It's not really the best way to bring in the new year, but here we are. And let's all hope and pray that it doesn't get too bad later on. I'm Chris Allen from Sam 100.7 and the Sam channel. I'll see you later.